so I'm playing bump and run against Sammy White, and now hypothetically, like he 80 years old. He 80 years old. And I'm sitting there in my mind, I'm thinking, this is, and I know who Sammy White is, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I'm like thinking, okay, all right, this is a matchup here. I'm about to shut him down. I know he can't run with me, right? I just know.
Yeah.
Man, he ran a patent post corner on me, right? I might still be running to the post.
That's how technical it was.
Man, he caught that thing to the corner, and I was like, okay, that's why that's Sammy White.
Yeah, that's why that's Sammy White. That
tells me, yeah, it don't matter how fast you are and all that kind of stuff. You got to learn what these things look like. He took me to school.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to KROSS BARZ, the podcast where we discuss interesting topics while alternative perspective. I am your host today, Big O. Now, we have with us the amazing, the incomparable, yeah, I said that, it's a big word, Mr. Carl Lee. Let's give him a round of applause. Okay, now, Mr.
I only got
Lee,
one thing real quick.
Yes, sir.
I have the recording piece on my screen, so I can't actually see you right now.
Okay, just hit got it. Just hit got it, and you
okay. Good. There we go. I didn't see it.
Well, there you go. So now
I got you.
Now, Mr. Carl Lee, tell me, what in the world possessed a young boy from West Virginia believe that he can make it to the NFL?
Well, it probably started at about 5 or 6. And I started saying that I wanted to do it at about 7. And that's my first year playing youth football. Me and my dad, my dad was a huge football fan, used to play in the old Sandlot leagues, and was a big Browns fan. I'm crying when the Browns lose, man. I'm that far into it. And it wasn't really until I got probably to high school, college, when saying it what seemingly was a bad thing, because I was so, and I think people need to sometimes be this. I was so naive of how hard it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
That if you told me I wasn't going to make it, I'm like confused. I'm like, well, why can't I make it? What are you talking about? Like, I was just like, why can't I? I'm going to go out. I'm going to put the time in. I'm going to work. I'm going to run. I'm going to lift. I'm going to get bigger. I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to get fast, all that kind of stuff. And then when draft day shows up,
you did.
They're gonna call me. I'm going to play.
Okay. See, Mr. Lee, I'm gonna just be honest with you. I thought the same thing. I was like, yeah, I'm going to NFL, but I wanted to go to NFL for a whole nother reason, not to really play football. I was one of those kids that wanted to go because of the things the NFL could do for me. You know what I mean? Like, some people like it because of the game and loving the game and the sport. I can truly say to myself, I wasn't so in love with it. I just knew I had talent, but I just wanted to, get my family up out of poverty per se.
Well, to be honest, it's that reality is what it can be, and for a lot of people, it is now. Okay. It's not as much. I didn't know. I just love the game.
Yeah.
And again, I went in my first year, man. My base salary was $40,000. My first job after.
I saw highlights. You had a face mask on. Now, it wasn't that far back. Like, you had a leather helmet. You telling me in your rookie year in 1983, the base salary was $42,000?
I got paid and they had this was the first year of minimum that they bumped the minimum wage up. There were guys making $20-some thousand when I came in prior to, until the league changed the minimum to $40,000. So I wasn't even aware. But imagine, I'm one of 5 kids in a seven family home with 2 bedrooms. I'm making $40,000 with a $10,000 bonus.
Okay.
Bro, I'm as good as LeBron.
Okay. So now you're in West Virginia. Your dad was a huge Browns fan. You know, you start playing Pee Wee League. And now being a black man, black family in West Virginia, how was that? Because I don't know if you know, all of our listeners know that, you know, that might be a struggle in itself. You playing football and the time period which you were playing football as well.
It was what everybody knows now as daddy ball. You know, it was definitely that back in the day. And I don't even know if they meant it. You know what I'm saying? You know, I don't know if it was intentional as much as it was reactional, you know, because, you know, I'm coaching, my son's going to play, you know, and if I played guard in youth football. Now, I graduated from high school at 155. So can you imagine at 7, what I must have been?
Yeah,
so
60 pounds.
I'm playing guard. I scored my first touchdown on a guard reverse.
You can't do a guard reverse. You did
yes,
a fumble rule. No,
listen,
they ain't changed the rules.
Bro, we didn't change the rules. I stepped off the line.
Okay.
As a guard, I stepped off the line.
Okay.
And took a handoff on a reverse.
Okay.
And it's just old school. They used to be called Doc Generals. It was the West Side team, you know? And so I got a chance to score against the West Side team, but I was as happy as I could be.
Yeah, that's different.
So yeah, all of that was different. And again, you know, there was a couple kids that I played behind for like a long process from youth football to old junior high. And it took a while before all of a sudden when winning mattered more to the school and all of that kind of stuff, that I got an opportunity. Even in high school, my first starting job, the coach said to me, "We're going to put you at free safety," and I'm 11th grader, so we're going to put you at free safety until we find somebody. I don't know if he necessarily meant it kind of that way, but that's what he said.
Stop getting. We're going to put you there until we find somebody to replace you. Got you.
Yeah, and I thought to myself, I said, "Oh well, no, that ain't going to happen."
Oh yeah,
you don't realize you just made a mistake giving me this shot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the rest was history. So I tell kids all the time now, you know if you're a Randy Moss. Yeah. It ain't hard to decipher if you're a Randy Moss.
Yeah.
If you wasn't a Randy Moss, you probably Carl Lee. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And there's some work to be done, not taking anything from Randy from not working, but he just had pure talent and put it to work. Yeah. And for us, for the majority of us, there's obstacles that you can't spend time sitting around worrying about them. You got to keep building yourself.
Okay. So now you get to high school, you're playing free safety. Was your high school pretty good or, you know,
we were pretty good. We actually ended up beating Randy's old school. Not he wasn't there obviously, but we ended up beating them. They were number 1 in the state. We beat them the first game of the season. So we thought we were going to be pretty good. And just another backdrop on my dad and me being a small kid, my dad was old school and he played sandlot. So, you know, that's no helmets. That's just going out, some guys going and playing. And it was an organized league. There was no understanding about not taking somebody's head off. This is old school before CTE and all the head injuries. Yeah, it's taking somebody's head off.
Facts.
You don't do that, you ain't played a game.
Facts.
So and he was short but stocky and muscular, and his thing was the harder they are,
the bigger they are, the harder they fall.
And he lived in that. You know, he lived by that, and he didn't give me no options. He didn't give me no options of having somebody running a slant, running a post, and you walking back to the huddle.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's all I knew.
And now, okay, you know, you actually would have definitely been fined. You would have definitely been fined and had all types of problems. However, I call that real football. Right now, we are borderline on the flag football league. I promise you, it's going to be the NFL, like the NFFL. That's what it's about to be, National Flag Football League. I promise you. I think in like another 5 years, it's going to be that.
And we could there is legitimate reasons for safety, and the way that I would want to hit and the way that I used to try to teach to hit, that is gone. But I still believe that there's an ability to be physical within a reasonable safety measure. I mean, because you cannot take any kind of safe. You can't say any sport is totally safe. Yeah, so to whatever measure that you can keep it safe, you still have to be physical in football. There is it is dominating. It is dominating. So it's me or you. Big O, I either got to be the dominator or you got to be the dominator. But one of us has got to be willing to try.
Yeah, I understand that. And just being honest, I think from the perspective of, I think in high school, maybe even some in college, but in NFL, I think it should be the same rules like boxing. You wear headgear, you wear higher, you can make the trunks a little higher so, you're not hitting close to low blows. But when you become a professional boxer, it's like, nope, it's going to be below the navel. It's going to be no headgear. You know what you signed up for. We pay you as a professional. And this is what, and you can say, no one's forced to be here. It's a gladiator sport. And I think boxing, if they start putting headgears on people and then putting a whole bunch of stuff, and people's like, yeah, they're not going to watch it. And it's like, I think football is the same way. It's like, no, you know what this is. It's a gladiator sport. You can harm yourself. People can die, just like boxing. Yeah. So you know what you're signing up.
Yeah, and I mean, I totally agree with that. And I'll take a step further. Travel football is probably the worst thing that you could possibly do for your kid.
Facts.
I'll just put that out there.
Tell me why. Why do you think travel football would be worse?
You can't play in the pros. You play once a week.
Correct.
In college, you play once a week. Mm-hmm. In high school, you play once a week.
Right.
In youth and middle school, you play once a week.
Yep.
You can play 3 and 4 games in a weekend, 2 in a day, in travel football. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you use the and the ploy used to get my kid to travel and pay hotels and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not bashing the people who believe in it, because there are people who believe in it. But if you believe in it, you've never seen a friend not know your name. You never had to see a friend be buried because of the game. Okay. Right. You physically cannot take 4 games. And you can make the case these are little kids, so they're not hitting hard.
No, they hit.
Valid point. But these kids also are not physically mature, because the whole issue with the brain, it's not the contact that 2 kids have. It's not necessarily the impact of the 2 kids. It's the brain sliding in your skull.
Correct.
You can do that by jerking your head.
Correct.
And you're putting somebody else's kid at risk to build a 12, 13, 14, 15, 20 man roster. Mm-hmm. It's okay to play basketball every day. It's okay to play soccer every day. Maybe they're even questioning soccer with the ball in the head thing. Yep. For the same reasons. Baseball's great travel. Track's a great travel thing. There are some sports that are just not meant to be done.
Yes,
and to me,
too physical.
That's one that football is definitely not one to play multiple games. Absolutely. And if you can't do it on the pro level, clearly you can't do it on the youth level.
That is true. I can agree with that. Now, high school, you did well. Did y'all win the states in West Virginia?
We didn't. We ended up losing our last game and got knocked out of the playoff side in my senior year. So,
that kind of sucks. So now, what college did you attend?
I went to Marshall.
Marshall. So you stayed home. Tell me, why did you choose Marshall versus any other school?
I didn't really choose Marshall, but Marshall kind of chose me, and I'll explain that.
Okay, player.
I was getting recruited by Virginia Tech and a couple of other schools. Virginia Tech was the biggest. I went to several visits and stuff, and thought dad was happy about it, and that's probably where I would have gone. But then when it came down to signing time, they were talking about walking on. Ain't no money for that.
Yeah,
ain't no money for that.
Yeah. You got to pay out of state fees and everything.
Yeah, so sorry, I can't come. If you ain't foot the bill, I can't come. I had gone to West Virginia State, 3 or 4 of the state schools with a couple of my buddies, and I was fine because again, I'm so naive. I'll go from Fairmont. I'll go from West Virginia State. I'll go from Concord or Fairmont. I'll go, because I want to go. So I wasn't like, I didn't really care what school that I went to. I had a couple of other schools outside of the state. I had gone to Marshall, and the coach that was there prior to Sonny Randall, I guess he knew he was getting fired. So when I went on a visit with him, it was kind of flat and
I don't care. Like, I'm not going to be here anyway.
Yeah. It was that kind of deal. And I'm like thinking, okay, well, Marshall's not for me. Literally a week later, Sonny Randall gets the job. I get a call from Marshall. I come back down. Bob Pruitt's on that staff. Jim Groves on that staff. I mean, it was like a huge, really put together staff. I went down there, and Sonny had told me, or he had heard about me saying that I wanted to play in the NFL. And so I walk in his office, he sits me down, he says, son, I know what you want. So I'm like, wow, like what is that? He said, I can promise you this. If you are good enough, I will make sure you get at least a tryout.
Okay.
I was done.
Yeah.
I was done. I was like, what can I sign?
That's all you needed.
Now, mind you, Marshall hadn't had a winning record. They hadn't had any of that kind of stuff prior to, because of the plane crash. They were still coming out of that.
That was in 77 or 76.
I came in 79. I graduated high school in 79 and signed at Marshall right out of high school.
Yeah.
So they were still. No,
I was talking about the plane crash. That was in 70.
It was 60 something, somewhere in the 60s, I think.
I thought it was the 70s.
Late 60s, 69. Was it 70s? I can't.
Yeah.
I can't actually totally remember, but it was.
Yeah, close.
They hadn't rebounded at this point yet. Reggie Oliver was on that staff. If you remember Reggie Oliver, from the movie, he was the black quarterback who threw the touchdown pass, the first game in the what's the We Are Marshall movie?
We Are Marshall, correct.
He was on the coaching staff. I didn't even know he was even the quarterback at Marshall during that time until I see the show.
Yeah.
But so I signed right there on the spot, and guys started leaving. We started losing. Guys started leaving, and somebody asked me once. They said, "Well, why don't you leave?" Mm-hmm. I said, or asked me like, "Have you ever thought about leaving?" And I was like, probably every morning at about 6:30. But I'm not leaving. Because this man played in the NFL, and that's where I want to go. So the best thing I can do for my team right now is practice hard every day, play hard every game, and I'll take the L, but I'm gonna ball out. Correct. And so when people try to tell me winning is a necessity to your own individual success, you can't convince me of that.
Yeah, because that wasn't your path. So now being at Marshall, you have the school, the community, they're dealing with the adversity. I looked it up. It was 1970 that it said that the plane crash.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, so now it's 6 years, 5 years removed, not having a team, those upperclassmen moving on, and freshmen that came in, even having to fill an entire staff. So, they're still rebuilding per se.
And they were still talking about killing the program. The whole time I was there was always conversation about killing the program.
Yeah. And now you go to you go to Marshall. And I know in the state of West Virginia, the Mountaineers is the school.
Yes.
It's like that is the school. Marshall is like, okay, this is the alternative because that's the other school much smaller. And and doesn't have the same prestige as maybe the Mountaineers. And the other part to it is that you get drafted in 1983.
Yes.
Okay, so now what did you do to get on the NFL radar? Like, what do you feel like you did that said, okay, we got to look at that guy? Because there's 100, 1,000 different D-backs throughout the nation at different schools, some a little bit larger and more prestigious than Marshall. But how did you, coming from a smaller school in West Virginia, get on the radar to NFL scouts besides your coach saying, I'll get your trial? But how did they say, now let's come down there and see about that defensive back down in Marshall?
There was this this swing in the NFL of short, quick receivers. You had Duper and Clayton and those kind of guys, and bump and run was kind of the thing at the time, And so teams started to talk about trying to, what's the guy who can handle those kind of guys? So, they had me at 5'11 3/4. Now, I've been 6'2" in the high school rosters, but I'm down 5'11 and 3/4. But I could run and I was physical. I was a safety and I wasn't afraid to hit, but I could run, for 95, maybe 98% of the scouts, I'm running 4.4, and as a safety, and I'm long, I got long hands, big hands and long arms. And so they were projecting me as a bump and run corner. Most of the people had me as corner. So I was leaving safety and going to end up being a corner. And so I think the biggest attraction was the stature of me, and I can run. And so putting me out on the corner against a guy that might be 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", gives me a little bit of advantage. Plus I can run as fast or faster than them. It was kind of a perfect fit, and then the conversation was around early. If there was a run on DBs, on corners, I could go with as early as 3, 4. If not, then I could fall back to 6, 7. And I went 6 pick, 7th round for the Vikings, and was definitely, they drafted me as a corner.
Okay. So now during that time period, that became the norm. But I found that, they would change not a lot, but some of the safeties to corners.
Yes.
But corners later in their career become safeties.
Yes.
Like, in NFL, some people don't realize that. But, I think the most famous one would be Rod Woodson, when he, was a corner, then became a safety. But many people didn't know that Ronnie Lott was a corner, then he became a safety as well. So you were like in the same thing, like Ronnie Lott. That's what I thought about. So you were like Ronnie Lott. Like, we're gonna put you down, but we know what you can do. I know you like that raw meat. We're gonna get you some, but we want you to stick with these Lynn Swans around here. And being that you got drafted to the Vikings, because the Vikings, the Purple People Eaters, they were known to have a very dominant defense and being physical. So now we got to talk about some of the legendary coaches that you had at Minnesota. And wait a minute, 83. You played with Ahmad Rashad, correct?
No, I missed him. He
1 year.
He left before me maybe 3 or 4. I had Sammy White though.
There. Huh?
I had Sammy White though.
Yeah, Sammy White. Okay.
Sammy White was still there. Yeah, okay, Sammy White was still there. Ahmad might have been 2 or 3, maybe.
Yeah.
And you could be right. He might have been just maybe even a year or so before me.
That was like around that time. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Okay.
Sammy White was, so I'm playing bump and run against Sammy White. And now hypothetically, like he 80 years old. He 80 years old. And I'm sitting there in my mind, I'm thinking, and I know who Sammy White is, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I'm like thinking, okay, all right, this is a matchup here. I'm about to shut him down. I know he can't run with me, right? I just know.
Yeah.
Man, he ran a patent post corner on me, right? I might still be running through the post.
That's how technical it was.
Man, he caught that thing to the corner, and I was like, okay, that's why that's Sammy White.
Yeah, that's why
that tells me, it don't matter how fast you are and all that kind of stuff. You got to learn what these things look like. He took me to school.
Okay.
And that was the best thing that happened to me because I just knew, like, there ain't no way, there ain't no route that he can run on me that I can't keep up with him.
Okay.
And so when he hit that post corner, I was gone. I was lost.
So he hit you with a double move, and you had to learn quick. Double move.
Killed me.
Okay. All right. So now, because we get into what I really want to talk about. All right. Who was a tougher cover for you, Willie Gault or Sterling Sharp? Because I was in your conference. Oh yeah. I'm ready. I'm here for it. I want to know because Willie Gault, if people don't know, was a world-class sprinter. But had his little dropsies, but was a world-class sprinter. And Sterling Sharp had super speed, but he was basically a tight end body. His little brother Shannon more popular, Hall of Fame, but everybody who knows Sterling was a better receiver.
And I'll start by saying the injustice of the media not allowing Sterling Sharp in the Hall of Fame is unfair.
Wait a minute. He got injured.
He got injured, but Jerry Rice was 1 and 2 every year that they played together. And if you'd have asked me Jerry Rice and Sterling Sharp, I'd have said I still would have, and I'm going to go with Sterling for a specific reason against both of those. Rice could run every route.
Correct.
And he was going to get the ball.
Correct.
Okay. But getting hands on him wasn't necessarily hard. The problem with Sterling is getting your hands on him is the problem. When you get your hands on him, he's, Shannon is way bigger than him. But people don't know. Sterling can run. He can run, but he was stout. And I'm trying to put my hand out there to jam him, and it's like my whole shoulder coming out of socket. And he caught a diving deep ball on me. I get my hands on him. I got him. And he knocked that down and got ready to. So I'm trying to turn to run with him. He pulls my shirt, my whole pad's hanging out. Oh, wow. We both dive for the ball. He catches it, and I get up. I'm looking at the official. Look at this. He pulled my jersey. He laughing. The best player I've ever played against was able to play at the pro level and laugh the whole time. He'd run through because he used to come here to West Virginia, hang out. We'd hang out together and stuff. And he would come through our huddle, talk about what y'all call. I know y'all ain't calling them, but man to man, and come on and run through the huddle. He loved the game. He was so much fun. Yeah. But to your initial question, the problem with Willie Gault was he was so fast, but he could beat you. He could have you about 4 steps, and he might drop the ball.
Yeah, that's true.
Anybody else? I'm not gonna say anybody else, but the names that we've been just talking about, they ain't dropping the ball.
True that. True that. But it's just like you got that world class, and that was the age in the early 80s when you played. That was the age of we're gonna just recruit from the Olympic trials. I want to say Ron Brown for the Rams was a specialist. Willie Gault, James Jett. They even had Nehemiah.
Yes. Could you imagine throwing 50 times with those quarterbacks and those receivers? Mm-hmm. What would the yardage look like then?
No. I'm gonna give you one better. This is why I don't believe anybody else past, I want to say, what was that, 85, 86 defensive back should go into Hall of Fame over anybody previous, because some people don't realize the NFL had to change the rules because you used to have double motions. Like the Canadian leagues. So you can have two receivers in motion at the same time. I said, could you imagine having to, like, I played corner in college. So I'm looking like, wait a minute. All right, we stimming, we trying to disguise our our schemes and everything. I'm learning robbers, sit on the route, this and that. We trying to funnel them to the inside, to the safety, to the hook zone. I'm trying to, mess up and interrupt them, beat them up down the sidelines. All these things. And I'm like, okay, I could imagine, you shift and then you see another shift and then you see two receivers going motion at the same time, crisscross. I'm like, man, we going zone. Like, we backing up, going zone, keep everything in front of you. And that's why I really respected the era you came in, and I was so excited because, I did want to ask that Willie Gold and Sterling Sharp question, because that with NFC North was rough back then. Mm-hmm. It was rough. Y'all was beating up on each other.
It was tough.
And y'all defense, you had Chris Dolman. I think you were playing with Chris Dolman. Yeah, Bernard. And then you had the 85 Bears. That was what, 2 years in the, even though you play defense, I'm glad I'm like, oh my God.
I watched it from the sideline. I wouldn't even sit down. Normally I don't pay attention to the offense. I come to the bench and sit down.
Yeah.
I wanted to see what that defense looked like. So I'm standing up watching it, man. And I'm telling you, we had Wade Wilson, Steve Beals, Tommy Kramer, and we had Archie Manning.
Archie was on that team?
Yes.
Wow.
Archie, look, everybody, nobody.
I know Tommy Kramer, he was the quarterback.
Yeah, but did nobody want to play quarterback?
Yeah, nobody.
Nobody wanted to play quarterback. Everybody got hurt. And poor Archie got in the game, and I don't know how many sacks. I want to say they may have set the sack record on us in that game. And man, I'm sitting there and I'm looking and I'm like thinking, bro, they ain't. And then you got Mike Singletary in there with eyes as big as the moon, staring down the line, and I'm like thinking, you got corners playing hard, you got ends and everybody coming.
That was one of my coaches in college.
Oh my gosh,
Coach Cam, the corner from the Bears.
Man,
so So I'm sitting there like, I'm a diehard Giants fan. So our team in '86, we was ready right there for you. But the defense during that early '80s, I want to say up until like '87, like there was like 5 teams that could have been defense team of the year. You know what I mean? And
defenses got good. Like defenses got really good. I can't even imagine some of with the rules that we had then. I can't imagine some of these teams now trying to play any of those teams. Nobody today would even dare get out there against the Bears.
No.
85 Bears.
No.
Don't do it.
No. You know why? You know why I would say yes, they could, is because of the offensive schemes. Because they play a 4-6, that Bear 4-6. So all they were saying is, we're going to get to your quarterback before you could get that run and shoot stuff off. But with the way things are, I'm like, you throw 2 screens on them, they in trouble. You know what I mean?
Because that's what you had to do.
Yeah, wide receiver screen.
You had to do screens and stuff.
You throw that wide receiver screen, you're in trouble. Because as soon as
it took a while. It took a while though for people to figure out what to do to it, because it only lasted for maybe about. I'm gonna give it a year and a half. Was 2, about the extent, at best 2, but I think people started to figure it out like about halfway through that second season.
Yeah, and what happened was, when they figured it out, the defensive architect of that went to Philly and he adjusted it in Philly, which was Buddy Ryan. So Buddy Ryan said, oh, that we can't stop the screen. Like, we only got a safety back there. Now you got a jailbreak with 2 tight ends, a receiver out there in front, and a little fast guy running behind him, and then everybody behind the rest of them. So he kind of made the adjustment, and he put some emphasis on getting some quality secondary people, because everybody put their money up front. They put the money up front. All right. So now we're talking about some of the receivers. Now let's talk about some of those deep backs, because for me, I'm a football, like two things I know: music and football. I know them things, like, my hand got wrinkles in them. I know that, like a little cut here. I know it. So now, what about Kenny Easley, Ronnie Lott, and Atwater? You were in that era. Who was the hardest that you looked at? Because, you looked at them and said, and Dave Durson. You looked at them and said, which one was like, all right, don't run at him. He got that he different.
All of them, but I'm probably gonna go to I'm gonna give it to Ronnie Lott, bro. Because if you cutting your finger off,
they're playing the game. He cut his finger.
Right.
Yeah, just
you cutting your finger off.
Yeah, just
the finger playing.
Yeah. I'm taking it to the house. I'm not cutting my finger off.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I ain't running the post. If I'm a receiver and the dude went over the sideline, cut his finger off, and tape it up and come back and play, he is not a guy I need to be around.
That's right.
No reason for me to be around him.
Okay. Because in the new age, y'all here running like, but people who know, like, Kenny Easley was not that guy to play with in Seattle.
No. But they were like the dude in the neighborhood who everybody knew. Don't play with them.
Like, he can't play. He play too rough.
Yeah, don't play with him. He plays too hard. You kind of try to hide and go play ball over here in the corner somewhere because you don't want him to play because he don't know how to play. All he knows is all out.
Correct.
And can't nobody match that. So let's try to play the game without him. So it's like you can't run nothing in the middle. Nobody's running the post. Because if you run the post and you get in there to one of them, you likely coming off there with a stretcher.
Yeah.
Because they don't care about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If you cut your finger off and play, what are you thinking? What are you thinking about me as a receiver? Nothing.
Yeah, you're not thinking I want to tackle him. You're like, I think I could kill him. Like, that's what you're thinking. Like, are you want to tackle him? No, tackle is not sufficient. He has to die. Like, why?
Yes.
Absolutely. And
you can't carry him off on a stretcher. You can't do nothing because he getting back in the game.
Absolutely.
Tape it up and put me back in.
Absolutely.
So I can hurt somebody else.
Okay. So now you're in there playing against these all-star. This is at the end of some people's career. So the Lynn Swans, the John Stallworths, not John Stallworth, excuse me. John Stallworth, excuse me. I'm correct. Mm-hmm. Lynn Swan, John Stallworth. You don't see them too much because that was the AFC.
Right.
So those people, but you had to go against, the tail end of Bob Hayes and then the emergence of Drew Pearson.
I had I'm gonna tell you the Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin was a rookie at the height of my career.
What? Wait a minute. No way. Michael Irvin came in 8. Oh, yeah, you're right. That's 88. Yeah. I'm thinking about when he won the Super Bowls. Yeah, you're right. When he came in.
When he came in, I was at the height of my career. And we're playing in Dallas, and I got him. You know what I'm saying? Like and again, he's a young dude. He's still just trying to fill it out.
Yeah.
But this is how good they knew he was. And I don't mean this to sound like I was this, but I was holding my side down. I was the guy getting the guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So, bro, they was like, he gonna beat me. Like they took him on deep balls. They kept taking him on deep balls. They kept throwing at him. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. What are y'all telling me?
Yeah,
he's a young dude. And wait, y'all not considering me? But I'm saying that. But now, after career ends, and you look at him, I'll see now what y'all was trying to do. Because he ended up being that guy.
Yeah,
but
not on you. He's a little too young.
Well,
not on you.
Young. Yeah,
he's a little too young. He ain't done yet. He got to cook some more. You got to leave him up.
But you could tell. You could just tell. Like,
got you.
In his mind, he felt it. You know, they knew it, and they were really putting him to the test. Because like I literally had to tap out of a game of the game because they were running deep balls so much.
Yeah, he was getting tired.
And we wasn't playing nothing but man. We was just straight. Like when you come out, bro, I'm on the line already waiting on
you. Yeah. Oh, so you played bump and run the whole time?
We played. I'm a Pete Carroll disciple. So when Pete Carroll was there, which saved my career, to be honest with you, with him coming and going to bump and run, that was the best thing for me.
Because you fit.
So because it fit me. And so I flourished under Pete and got to a space. And again, I had Pete Carroll, I had Willie Shaw, I had Tony Dungy, you know.
Damn. You got four.
Bud Grant for two.
Bud Grant. So you got 4 Hall of Fame coaches on your staff. Wow. Like I knew most of them, but I didn't put that together. I was like, okay, I know you had Bud Grant. You know, I was like, I think you may have had. I was thinking Dick Vermeil, but he was the Eagles. I was like, no. Yeah. So I didn't realize Pete Carroll was at the Vikings during that time.
And listen, they had moved me my second year back to safety for a year.
Okay.
And I thought I would have loved it, but I didn't like it. I wanted to get back to the corner. So the third year, Pete comes in, and he introduces the bump and run. And I can remember calling my mom from training camp and saying, "Mom, I think this stuff that they're teaching me now." I said, "I think I can do this." Yeah. You know, I think I literally said it. I was like, I think I can be better than anybody here if I get that opportunity.
Wow. That's a big statement. That's a big statement.
Yeah. And you know, you're telling your mom that and you trying to, you know, you making sure ain't nobody listening to you. I'm like, I
could be better than anybody here, man.
I think anybody here, I think I can do it the best if I get a shot. You know, and you know, and I can come out of there saying at least this. I started in and played in more games at my position than anybody in history. So that's the most I'm proud of. I'm proud of that more than anything.
Let's not mosey over that. You know, sir, that's a bar. That's a statement. Like, I played more games of this than anybody. Whoa, wait a minute.
In that position, wow. Okay. That belongs to me. And so, you know, I got some accolades that are pretty good. They, you know, they okay. They're survivable. They braggable. But at the end of the day, when every game you're that guy that's walking out there. That's the one guy I played with. I can't tell you how many corners on the other side.
I got you. Yeah.
You know, and I mean, it was, you know, this guy, that guy, this guy. We go nickel and dime. There's this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy. They change year in and year out. And I'm the guy that keeps popping in there, never really knowing how many games in a row, never knowing how many years in a row you play. But what you know is somebody might be getting changed over there.
Yeah, you know, but there's an anchor over here.
Like, yeah, you ain't getting me. You ain't
coming over here. You know that corner over there. You might got a competition over there.
No. Yeah, I'm from Greenway. Okay, that's an old street. I'm from Greenway. You can't get me. You can't come get me.
Hold up now. Don't be talking about West Virginia. You from Greenway. What does that mean in West Virginia? Talking about from Greenway.
It's an old little. It's in South Charleston, West Virginia. It's the west end of South Charleston. Okay. And it was Greenway was one street, and it was all black.
Oh.
And everybody on that street, you know, we saw. You didn't say you was from Spring Hill. You said you was from Greenway.
Oh yeah. No, that makes sense.
Because Greenway told you something.
Yeah,
Greenway told you something. And if you didn't know, then you was definitely not around us.
Oh no, okay. Now let me translate that for all of our listeners. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lee just explained when he was younger, he told them You said Greenway. You was from the hood. He was from the
hood. And here's the thing. I don't even know. Like I said, we ain't missed no meals. Mom was working. Dad was working. But everybody on the street really did okay.
Yeah.
But we just happened to, for whatever the reason, that whole street. I don't know where. I don't know how.
About that life. They wasn't taking no shit. I understand.
And you could, mom, dad go to work. You ain't leaving the street. That street, you go up and down that street. The playground was on that street. Go somewhere outside of that. Somebody on that street gonna get you in trouble
all day. Listen,
get whoopings all the way up and down the street.
All day. It's a community. It's a community.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. But that takes a village to raise a child.
Absolutely.
It took a village to raise Greenway.
Absolutely. So he from the South Side. Greenway.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if I ever into West Virginia, I'm like, I'm from Greenway. I got people. Absolutely. So now you're playing in the height of the super quarterbacks, because everybody talks about 1983 being the quarterback and everything, and then little old Carl Lee in there like, what about me? You know how they did it in Source Awards? The cornerbacks got something to say. Yeah, absolutely. So now I saw a highlight of you picking off Dan Marino up there high stepping. I'm like, okay. And now
that was my first 2-pick game.
Yeah. Look. I saw you run one back to the house. I know. Like, listen, you needed to improve on that celebration. Your celebration was, man. You could have tightened it up. I think that creativity was just like high. Like, come on, brother. You should have did something. I thought you was gonna give me the Billy White because you had the high socks, and I was like, okay, I'm all over the place again. Let me calm down. So now I see you picking off some of the greats, because you was great. And now when you start looking at throughout the league, you start seeing these quarterbacks come in. And this is the time where you guys start becoming superstars. Not teams, but players, because those quarterbacks started leveraging their popularity. And you're right. Salaries did go up during that time period.
Yeah.
That's when they started becoming
That's when they started jumping.
Yeah, because there was one gentleman right before you came in, but during your rookie year, he was a legend, beyond legend. And then someone surpassed him. Was from the Pittsburgh Steelers. His name was Mean Joe Green. Mm-hmm. And he was the one that had the Pepsi commercial, which is iconic, of him, the little boy, and him throwing the jersey back. Yeah. And then came, my favorite player. I got some issues with him, but my favorite player of all time, Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor came right during that time period. So now defensive players started becoming very popular, because it was always a quarterback, the running back, a receiver. Those guys were getting a lot of the prestige, the notoriety, things of that nature. You see kids wearing the jerseys. You never see them wearing a defensive jersey. It's usually a quarterback, running back, a receiver. And now people saying, wait a minute, Mean Joe Green, Lawrence Taylor, Mark Gastineau. You think I ain't know about that? Look. You ain't think I know about that. Mark Gastineau. All right. And you guys had your own, what they was talking about, Lawrence Taylor part 2, because he wore number 56, Chris Dolman. All right. You had, and matter of fact, you had probably I put him in the top 5 defensive tackles of all time. And that was John Randall.
You're freezing on me. Look,
okay.
John Randall came in. John Randall came in to us as a free agent.
Really? I thought he got drafted to you guys.
I don't think so. Go back and dig that up, but I don't think so. But he came in, and people were looking at him, and he wasn't. He wasn't. Yeah, he was too small.
Yeah.
We had Gary Zimmerman.
Okay.
Randall McDaniel.
Ooh.
Kurt Lattimore. All these dudes on the offensive line. You want to know who they hated? Was John Randall.
Wow.
Because John Randall was in practice. Yeah. You got that's 2 Hall of Famers. And Kurt Lattimore, as a center, easily could have been a Hall of Famer.
Wow.
But he came out there painted up, happy, yelling, screaming, like who is this dude? What is he on? Snap the ball. Right, he in the backfield.
Wow.
We in any kind of a drill.
He in the backfield.
Bro, we can be testing the mic, bro. He getting off. You know, he like you say hut, bro. He coming through the camera.
Wow.
But they hated him. It was like they hated him because he knew he had one speed. Mm-hmm. And for folks who you know, the old saying about, you know, you play like you practice.
Yeah.
Johnny played just like he practiced.
Wow.
He make you mad. He point at you. He tell you, I'm coming. We like, bro, it's practice.
He's like, yeah, what you doing? That ain't game time.
What you doing?
It's game time.
Yeah.
Baby.
Yeah. Right. He didn't know no. He knows no speed, no change of speed, no practice game. You get between those lines.
Yeah.
Right. I got my paint. I got my paint on, and I'm going.
Okay.
They hated him, but they couldn't block him.
All right. So now during that time, salary start bumping up a little something. You know, I would assume people started noticing. You know, some of the ladies in West Virginia might wanted to get the attention of Mr. Lee. You know, coming back home. You know, back then you're talking about the mid '80s. You know, you had a little money. You had what was you, a Trans Am or Corvette? Which one? I know you had one of them. Every football player had one. Look, Firebird.
First car. Mom and Dad always drove Monte Carlos.
V8. They want that part. They want that power.
Look, bro. First thing I went and bought was a dark blue T-top Monte Carlo.
Monte Carlo. Okay.
That's to me, success was Mom and Dad, right?
Yeah. You're right.
And I see all these dudes, they got Vets, they got Porsches, they got all that. Bro,
Monte Carlo. Success
meant Monte Carlo to me.
Absolutely. And if
I went and bought that. I went from that to a Delta 88.
Okay, now you're tripping. now you're tripping. now you're tripping. You went to a Delta.
I went to a Delta 88.
Okay.
And then go ahead. And then one of my boys, John Turner, we called him JT. He was the first dude with a phone in the car. I'm like, bro, where's it plug in at? You know what I'm saying? And so, but he had this 2-seater Benz. And then I fooled around and I went to South Carolina to visit Sterling. And he gave me this, he let me drive his 2-seater Benz while I was down there.
Okay.
I was like, well, I got to get one of these.
Yeah.
So I fooled around, got a 2-seater. I got that 2-seater. And then I had big body one. I just kind of got crazy with the cars.
Listen. Now you came back to Charleston. All they knew is they go, Lee, I'm gonna catch them. I know they was on you. All right. So now you're in the league. You're a Pro Bowler. You know, you're rubbing arms with the best of them. You know, and now you got, you know, just like all football players, you start thinking you're young, life after football, because after 3 years, you basically. That's the length, but you played many more years. So you got 2 careers out of, you know, your out of your one career, because so many people, you know, they might have been in a league. I didn't even know that until college, where, you know, some of my friends were getting drafted. And I was like, man, it was like, man, yo, the average length is like 3-4 years. I was like, what? Nah. And they was like, no, the stars, they'll play. But even their length, 10 years. Okay, if you get drafted at 22, you're 32. You know what I mean? Like, life is still going now.
Yeah.
You know,
I finished at 33. And I'm like,
So now I want to talk about that, because so many people don't have the insight of, okay, you're relatively, we all know 33 is young. Okay. So what was your mindset of, okay, what I'm going to do? Okay, after this career, what I want to get to. Some people get into broadcast now, but before they really didn't let us get into broadcast
with you.
Yeah, you know. So what were you doing?
I'm gonna preface this by saying, when I realized that I was no longer, you know, when I got cut by the Vikings and got picked up by the Saints, I'm about halfway through the season with New Orleans, and bro, now, you know, I didn't see a billion curl routes. And so I can kind of see that it's coming.
Correct.
But this one was so clear. Like, I'm looking at it, the receiver's running, everything about him is sitting down. He's going to sit down and he's going to come back to the ball. Everything about the quarterback is looking this way. And I'm like thinking, oh, this is going to be my first pick six with the Saints.
Okay.
And but next thing I know, I tackle him. And I'm like, uh-oh. I saw it. What scared me was I saw it. I knew it. And I was right. And I couldn't get there.
Oh, so your body. Okay.
I was like, I couldn't get there.
Gotcha.
Now, it was totally different than seeing it and not getting there before, because I could figure out what it was that I didn't do and why I didn't get there. But he caught it. I ain't get a swipe at it. I get there and now I'm just wrapping him up. He's got it here and I'm just wrapping him up. And I'm like, that should never happen. I knew it from the snap. So I was like, all right, this is it. You know, this is it. I gotta, when I get done with this season, I gotta get out of here because I don't want to mess up what I've already established. I ain't trying to hang on for the money. I ain't trying to do nothing. So I got the opportunity to leave knowing I couldn't do it again. 33 was too much. I couldn't do it. So I don't know if they would have brought me back. I don't know. I had a few calls when I walked away. I had a few calls, but I wasn't, I really still wasn't trying to, I didn't want to test it. I didn't want to mess up what I thought was, to me, was a pretty good career. And I don't want to mess that up, getting beat and coming off the sideline as a nickel and dime guy or sitting on somebody's sideline waiting. I ain't doing that. I'm going home.
But
so
the salary was real good though, that during the end of your career.
Yeah,
right?
it was. It was. Compared to where I started to where I got. Yeah, I was. Yeah,
I was like 93.
Good.
That's me in high school. I was like, whoa, I don't know what they was making.
But for me, I never went in it for the money. I didn't even know anything about the money. Football was me and my dad. You know what I'm saying? It's just a love that I got, and I get lucky enough, blessed enough to play it and get paid for it. I'm good with it. Now, yeah, I want to get as much as I can. I want to get as much as I think I deserve based on where I rank. I want all that. Mm-hmm. But now here I am, and it's the door's closing. And so if the door's closing, I don't want it to close without me putting my hand on the handle and closing it behind me. Because I don't want them to slam it. Because that happened to me once before. I was out. They shut me out once. And and I ain't giving y'all that again.
What they say? I never, no girl ever left me. I left the girl.
Yeah.
I don't want to get kicked to the curb. I do the kick it to the curb. I got it.
Yeah. I want to walk away from this.
I want to walk.
I didn't want them to send me home.
Yeah.
They ain't got to tell me. Coach Moore, Jim Moore. I don't need you to call me.
Whoa. Mora or Moore?
Mora.
Okay.
And his son, I was older than his son who was coaching DBs.
Okay, so why do you just didn't go in coaching? Because because anyone that's a Pro Bowl in the NFL, that means that you are in the top. You're in the top 5 in the world at that particular skill. Like, I know sometimes you don't think about it, but that year you're in the top 5 in the world at that skill. So now, to me, if you're a Pro Bowl, it just means that, I could go coach. Like, you should naturally say, I could coach at the NFL level because I was a Pro Bowl, and then you come in with that cachet. Like, anybody here been a Pro Bowl? No. All right, so let me show you how you do it. Versus, okay, I'm gonna go do something else outside of football where your expertise will lend itself for you to coach.
That sounds good, and there is some reality to that, but let's go back and try to figure out what times that was. We ain't even have, we haven't even gotten to a fight yet about having a black head coach.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? We're not even fighting the head coach. Not saying you didn't have some black coaches on staffs, but we're not fighting. Yeah. We're not fighting. We're not fighting that. So for me to think, that they're gonna take me in as a coach wasn't really an idea. It wasn't a thought in my mind. It wasn't like, and I have spoken several times, and I try to tell people, like, you don't be a player, be a coach. It's safer and you can get paid more.
I think you just said something foreign. What are you talking about?
Let me say it this way.
Thank you, sir.
You can go and coach. You can go and coach and make great money coaching if you can move up the chain. You don't have to be a player, because that'll die when your feet die, right? Okay. The moment you get slower, the moment you get weaker, you get hurt, whatever, you can't get hurt as a coach. So,
okay, I got what you're saying. Okay, I got you, because you kind of threw me off with that.
We think all we think is throwing the ball, catching the ball, tackling the ball, all that kind of stuff. We ain't never thought about putting the ball cap on.
Gotcha.
Other folks don't even have to play and put a ball cap on and a whistle, telling you what to do.
Very true.
So to me, I'm thinking, that wasn't in my mindset, but I was doing some media stuff because I had done a bunch of media stuff in Minnesota. So I was kind of that guy that was able to talk on the radio and that kind of stuff. So ended up getting on a show in New Orleans. I was doing it. And that's the reason why I was staying there, because I was doing the show. And then I get a call to say, hey, West Virginia State has a job open as the head football coach. What do you think about being the head football coach at West Virginia State? And I was like, And again, Coach Pruitt, Bob Pruitt, treats me like a son. One of the things he wanted me to do is he wanted me to get into coaching. So he actually, tried to get me from State, to come to Marshall to coach there with him. And I got to State, and I got my boys. I'm working with them, and I can't leave for me to go up I felt like I had already been to the mountain. These kids, if I leave them to go to another mountain, that's selfish to me. I couldn't leave them. So I stayed and started coaching at State. And then, I was there for like on campus doing different stuff. I coached for 10 years, was on campus for about 17 or so total. And so that spent most of my out of the league time. Yeah. So, and now, I'm back into coaching.
But we gonna stay there. Oh no, it's some questions there, bro. We got some questions there.
Okay.
So now you come out the league, you go to a historically black college, HBCU, correct?
Yes.
So now you go to the HBCU, you coach there. Now Marshall sees the talent, but is there at that time, was there a discrepancy on the pay being a head coach at West Virginia State and being assistant coach at Marshall?
The pay never even came up. Dollar amount never even came up.
Hey, listen. I've been on interviews now in my life. Pay always comes up.
I didn't go on the interview. He called me. Here's the thing. Like I said,
you ain't give him a number.
look, coach. No, here's the thing. Coach Pruitt is like, it's like your dad calling you and saying, look, won't you come down here and just do this? We ain't talked about a salary, because I'm sure in his mind that when he calls me, I'm going to take it.
Hit him with the Ray Charles. You're going to match it. Give him a number. You're going to match it.
The number wasn't, I'll say the number wasn't relevant because there wasn't a number. But the very first thing when he asked me, the very first thing came to my mind was my boys, my guys. These are my guys. Like, and I, I'm working with them. We ain't winning. We just building. We got, I got one of my boys buying my helmet or my uniforms and putting me up in hotels when I come down south. I got my boy doing that. So we ain't got no budget. You know, we ain't got no real full scholarships. We ain't got none of that.
Okay.
And so, you know, I'm slaving with my boys. You know, I'm trying to get them the best situation that I can give them. You know, and for me to leave and go to the penthouse, and not saying that, but well, Pruitt had that penthouse. He had that thing going.
Yeah.
And jump into that system and leave them.
I know you don't want to leave your people.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
I understand that. You had the loyalty. I know because you was on that campus. They told me you came up with a new dish. It was a pork and bean sandwich. Is that true? They said you bought it from South Charleston. They said you had a pork and bean sandwich on the menu. I said, God, that's country right there. Okay, so now you stayed there. And you said, listen, I'm gonna give them stuff. I'm gonna make them a program. What were some of the challenges being at, you know, I would say the third most noted college in West Virginia? Because, you know, I would say West Virginia, the Mountaineers would be first, Marshall would be second, and then comes West Virginia State. You have two or
because
one?
It's history.
Yeah,
just because of its history too.
Yeah,
yeah. I had $50,000 budget when I got there. I had a $50,000 budget.
Is that for scholarships too?
No, a $50,000 budget for anything other than coaches. That was a higher thing, but everything else was $50,000, and I had tuition waived. Okay, so I'm trying to recruit. And so I can give you a tuition waiver. I got to pay your fees and your room and board. Mm-hmm. Okay. And survive with in $50,000. So there was really, to give you a full scholarship, even if you deserved it, I probably couldn't.
Correct. So
again, you know, the quest becomes, how do you make something out of nothing? Mm-hmm. So my first conversation is to the dude that's got the beds. You got any empty beds? Yeah, we got quite a few empty beds. Okay. Can you give me a room waiver? Yeah. Give me 25 beds. He said, well, they're empty. I got them. I said, okay, go to the cafeteria. How much food do you throw away at the end of the day? Can you give me 25 meals?
Gotcha.
So now I get room and board. I got miracles. Tuition, room and board. Okay. And now all I got is fees. So now I can get you on campus and pay, you know, a couple $1,000s for you and you got a full deal.
Yeah.
So now we start to get better. You know, we building, getting better. And then, you know, things start to, you know, management and stuff starts to change and all this kind of stuff. So they get me out of coaching. But keep me on campus. So I stay on campus for a while. I was doing a couple things at one of our parks. You know, I was running that park because we had a co-op with them. So had a golf course, had a swimming pool. So bro, I'm over playing golf. I'm good. You know. Program's kind of getting a little bit better. One of my coaches got the head coaching job, did a great job, and now they got another coach there now, Coach Pennington. They got a new field, they got a new facility, they got all that. You know, I ain't had none of that. I got to find places to, you know, I'm in a lot practicing on grass.
Yeah,
you know, and my field is grass. I'm painting fields. You know, I got to paint my field. You know, I got to do all that. That ain't supposed to happen in college.
Absolutely.
But in hindsight, my guys, I love them and they love me. And the relationship that I have with that group of kids, young men, that are all young men now that are successful, but there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, and
nothing better than that.
So you know. Now, but my question now becomes, okay, how do you feel about some of these players coming back from the NFL because they're not having those successful opportunities like as I like to say, the nepotism that's going on in NFL with coaches and their sons who never played the game at the highest level, but these pros that cannot get coaching jobs, so they're going to many of these HBCUs and giving their expertise and knowledge. And now there's a big backlash when, as I like to say, the big dog in the land, which is Nick Saban. And then he made a statement talking about Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher, and making mention of, Jackson State, which is coached by Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about the players coming, like especially African-American players coming back to HBCUs, giving their name, their likenessness and coaching, but at the same time down because you got, players can profit off of their likeness? How do you feel about that whole situation as, for the amateurs? Because I know it's different between your era, my era, and what's going on right now.
I think we could have done it better. I think it should have been done with some structure than just make it the wild west. I think right now, if you're at an HBCU or you're at a D2 or you're at a whatever, you're allowed to make this amount of money. This is the max that somebody could pay you. Now we know that's going to get cheated to as well, but at least we've got some boundaries. Because now if I'm recruiting Big O, right? Yeah. And I say, okay, I'm gonna give you $30,000 and an apartment, okay? And that totals out to be $70,000. Okay. Mm-hmm. If that's the max that anybody can give you at that level or anywhere else, then the choice of you leaving me will depend on whether or not you like me or, because whatever it was that you signed with me, obviously you're going to go for $50,000 and an apartment and a car. So what you've turned us into, what it's turned us into is just eating up whatever the profits are. Mm-hmm. Taking whatever our talents are, we're going to jump at the first dollar that looks good, and every time. So they're pimping us. To me, it's kind of like a pimp thing, and I'm happy for the players, but unfortunately, college ball is not supposed to be that. Pick the school that you like. If Big O is worth $30,000 and that's the max, give him $30,000. But can't nobody else give him $30,000? I mean, nobody else can give him more than $30,000 to sway you. Because if I give you 30 and somebody's gonna give you 45, you gonna go to 45.
Yeah, but let me give a little pushback, because let's look at it from a standpoint of earlier eras where coaches were doing things that were unscrupulous, and as a former athlete as well as yourself, you may have seen it as well. Whereas let's say a kid, his freshman year, he blow out his knee, because most people don't realize that scholarships are 5-year renewable each year. So let's say a kid is supposed to be all-world running back, he blows out his knee. You see that, I'm not sure if he can come back from that. So you give him maybe another year to recover, and then you see he's not the same player. Yeah, they'll run that kid off. And that's over the country. Everybody has a story like that. Or where you not what I planned, because in high school I saw you as this receiver and it spread, but then the school that recruited you is a wishbone. So that's not the talent, and it's like you're using me different, and you may not fit for that scheme, because you get different position coach, not even a head coach. You get a different position coach, and it could go a wrong way. And so there's a lot of nuances there.
Yeah, there's a lot of it, but and I think the situation as a coach, and I'm curious of what you say to this. So the situation with the coach is managing the whole thing. So we pay that kids. Guy. Yeah, we pay that guy to manage the whole team. Mm-hmm. And somebody else might want to offer me $2 more than you offered me to come manage your team. I picked the $2 more. Okay. I think that is a lifelong job. You know what I'm saying? It's a retirement job. Playing football in high school to college is not a retirement thing. So I'm looking at this as a jump starter. Because, if you paid me $300,000, $400,000 a house and a car going to college, but I ain't sure I need to go to the league.
No. Okay. Let me touch on that. Yeah, you're right. But what was happening at not some of the smaller schools, but at some of the larger schools, like I'm gonna give you a instance because he spoke on it, and that's why I feel comfortable speaking on it. Chris Webber, when he was speaking about his sophomore year in college, seeing that University of Michigan had his jersey number 4, in the bookstore for like, $90, and he couldn't even afford it as a student to buy his own jersey. And that goes on where you look up there and you see your jersey in the stands and you're not reaping a benefit off of any of those. And it's like, okay, we're going to give you tuition and we're going to give you books, but you just made $1 million off of it.
Oh, so now what you're talking about, now you talking about like
revenue share.
My likeness, yes. Now now my name is Carl Lee III. My jersey number in pros was 39. It was 1 in college. It was 22 in high school. You sell that for $1.
Correct. You should see something.
You owe me something.
Fair. Okay, cool.
Yes. No, you owe me something.
And now watch this. In video game, before the O'Bannons, because I was in college when that happened, I remember seeing, and it was like, oh yeah, I'm playing with my team, and you seeing college football, and then they had NCAA college basketball, and you're seeing different players. I got mad. I was like, man, that's the rate. Okay. But they would use the number and everything, but just have the number up there and didn't have the name, but you knew who it was. It was like, okay, we all know number 16. Yeah.
They used to pay. They used to send you a little corner.
Not in college.
In pros, not in college, but in the pros.
Yeah,
but
okay.
They don't even do that now.
They don't send you guys money.
They quit that even before my name probably could have faded. But if somebody wanted to go back and play, if they go back and find the Vikings in the 80s and they play, if that's doable, I don't know because I don't play it no more. But if I'm on there,
yeah.
I deserve something.
Yeah, they supposed to give you a check. So if I go to my old Madden game in like 94, 95, and then I say, oh, I'm going to play with the 91 Vikings, which you were on the team, or the 87 Vikings. And I play with them and I see you there, number 39 on corner, and it had your name too.
Pay me.
Like, yeah, you should. Absolutely. That's why.
Now, here's my thing. I'm with you 100%. If I come to your school and you are going to advertise your school and me, or use me to promote your school, how much do I get? Because you can't use me if I'm not getting part of that.
Listen, right now, there's a player that was banned. All his records was banned because of some of the things that he received. And I was like, yo, fam, y'all got a lot of money and received a lot of money from that young man. And that was Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush with USC. Everybody in the world was wearing number 5 jerseys at USC.
Absolutely.
Because of Reggie Bush. And he was doing phenomenal things. And they were saying, well, you know what? University of Southern California gave your mother a secretary job at $80,000 a year. Gave your stepfather a job at $140,000 a year to get you comfortable, acclimated because you was a star running back at our school. Now, I look at it and say, well, I knew high schools that used to do that. hey, I like your son. Well, can you be a janitor over here? It's 1989. Yeah, I want you to be a janitor out of school. Yeah, what's the starting salary? 52. Wait a minute, 1989, 52. Wait a minute, that's kind of all right.
And janitor?
Yeah, yeah, as a janitor. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go here. Yeah, we want you to be over here so your son can play football over here. They were doing that all the time. And I'm like, okay, y'all know what y'all doing. Y'all been doing it. Texas, what was it? The boy Bromley from Oklahoma. I remember his situation where Oklahoma had the #1 recruiting class because they had the #3 quarterback in the nation, was Brom. And then they had the #1 running back, which was Adrian Peterson. Now he worked at a car dealership. They said for working at a car dealership, you can take one of the cars off the lot, and it's a rental that you may not have to pay back because you're the starting quarterback. All right, so that was wrong, but I don't believe that the young man should have lost his whole college career. And I was like, man, that sucks, because now
if I come on your lot and steal it, then I get it, okay? But if somebody gives it to me,
if he stole it, he would have to do jail time, and then he could come back and play 3 years in college because he took the benefit. It's like you can no longer play. You see what I'm saying? So I would have said, no, I stole the car. Like I would have told him I stole it.
But you can't punish me if somebody gives me something.
They punished him. Think about Bo Jackson when he tells about his stuff. It's like, will this get me in trouble? No, it will not. Are you sure? Yeah. Found out, took that plane ride, got him in trouble.
I sit at a North-South All-Star game, the West Virginia All-Star game today. Okay. I'm sitting at the game. Now I am the coach, and I've done my coaches are helping get all this stuff set up for the game, right? Mm-hmm. I see a coach sitting over by one of my players with maybe his son, maybe.
Okay.
And I know he's recruiting my player.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the AAU mentality. Yeah, that's the AAU mentality. Yeah, I got it. Let me just sit by that star kid over there and strike up a conversation. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, you could be, the dude who's gonna walk over there and say, hey man, what's going on? How y'all doing? What's going on? What we talking about? I could be that guy.
Absolutely.
I could be the guy that could go over there and say, like, man, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Or I could opt out of it and say, bro, look, do what you do. This is what's gonna help you, and you feel that way. You do you. Wow. I opted not to go. Because whatever I thought I was gonna say when I got there probably was not gonna be the thing that I was gonna say.
Get your gut.
Yeah.
I got so you. By the time you got over, that's what it's going to amount to.
Yeah, because I already know like the little trembling in my neck over here. I'm itching around here. I'm like, I could go over there with all the great intentions and then make that and then blow that whole thing up, and mess up the whole game and the whole structure, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let him have his time. I'm gonna let us have his time, and then we'll live in what decisions that the dad and the son make going on, whatever. Okay. The problem, and I use that because it is the player that is the pawn.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter where you go. You are the pawn. And the coach that needs you, that wants you to come to their place, you are not doing yourself a favor. You are doing him a favor. You are helping him have relevance.
True. However, can I interject?
Yes.
Another point? I could say during my high school, college career, and after college, up until more recently, the last 5 years, coaches were doing that often. Coaches will start at a mid-major and recruit kids with the intention of moving up. And they want to get one of those premier schools that can pay them $5-10 million
mm-hmm.
a year.
Mm-hmm.
And
mm-hmm.
and the kid will come to the school. Let's say you go to a school or a coach that did this. Let's say Lane Kiffin. You know, I've seen him do that, and I was like, yo, he went from that school to that school. What about the kids he recruited? So he's
mm-hmm.
like pass happy. What if you was a receiver and then the next coach come in and says, nah, we run the ball 80% of the time.
Right.
And now you can't transfer because you will lose a year of eligibility, or you have to go down to a lower division so you wouldn't lose a year. So now it kind of held the kid captive, but the coaches can get up and go at any time. And
anytime they want.
Yeah. And so the kid had no leverage at all. And I was saying, like, okay, this coach left this program. You know, certain coaches at certain programs are not leaving. You know, it's like, okay, all right, if you leave here, where are you going? Like an example of Urban Meyer. You know, he been, you know, when he was at Miami of Ohio, or Bowling Green. I forget which Ohio team. Might have been Miami, Ohio, or Bowling Green. One of those Ohio teams he was at did very well. He went to Utah. Okay, did very well at Utah. Then he went to Florida. I was like, okay, you're at Florida. Did well at Florida. Now to bring him back, Ohio State had to give him an arm and a leg in their firstborn. So he came back and brought Ohio State back to relevance. So now for me, it's like, okay, you're going to check. Whereas some coaches may say, no, I'm an institution here. You know, I'm going to develop kids here. And let's say like an Eddie Robinson that could have gone to coach, you know, at pros at the higher level at a LSU, but said, no, I'm staying here because this is where I want to develop kids that look like me. And, you know, where I'm like, a lot of these coaches don't have that type of integrity. And I'm not going to say that. Let me take that back. I apologize. People may not, because I could think about myself. If I'm at this HBCU and let's say they're paying me $700,000, which would be beautiful. But then it says, okay, I'm in the state of North Carolina. Somebody says, all right, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, the Tar Heels want you, and they're going to pay you $4.8 million. And I'm making 700, because 700,000 is good, but it ain't 4.8 million.
No, not
it is not. So some people are like, oh, you're sold out. You're my alma mater, North Carolina A&T, Aggies go Aggies. But I'm like, you got to go and make the decision best for your family. But now at the same time, it's like at the
you know, they you know, I you know, people, when you start talking about like those types of decisions, there's a couple things that I think ultimately matter. Okay. One is, it's about me. It's about me, the family, and what I want to get done for me. I ain't got time to hear none of you all's conversations, because 700 to 4.8. Don't tell me what you think I should do, because you ain't been in this situation. For me to pass up 4.8, that's a whole. I can do this 4.8, finish out 4 years, and call it a day.
Absolutely.
So that 700, while it's good, it's going to take me a while to build that up to create exactly what I want to sit at home with. Okay.
You're right. Absolutely.
So there's a space in sitting in a blessing, because of what you know and what opportunities come to you. Then there is the reality of those who you impact, those who your decisions impact. Me going to Marshall would have been more pay, easily more pay. Would I have wanted it? Yes. Did I need it in that moment especially? I didn't need it. So the question for me was, what's the best thing I can do for this situation? Stay. Because of these kids. I didn't, didn't drive time wasn't, it was a little different, but it wasn't, there was no difference other than I'm coaching under Bob Pruitt, under Marshall when they're winning like crazy. And I'm going to be on that staff and, potentially could keep just moving up in this, being a Marshall grad, I can keep moving up. When he leaves, maybe, I can get in that seat.
Yeah, that's a 7-figure seat then. That's a nice seat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
so,
hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because me and you can talk football and politics all the time. I didn't even realize we mess around on hour 2 and we ain't even touch the surface. We ain't even touch the surface. It is a whole bunch of stuff we got to get into. However, producer Lame is like, hey, because like I'm always the long-winded one. Jay Tanae, she's the one that kind of keep me under wraps, and now they just got me without a leash on. Like, we would be here until like 11:30 talking football and politics and everything. But I got this thing that I'll do where I give you 2 names and then you choose. You can say one or the other, or you can say both or neither. Okay, and it's all up to you. So if I said like I'm gonna give you something easy in football, all right, I'm gonna say the best NFL draft class. Would you pick 83? Or 87.
Mm-hmm.
Both. You get 83, 87. You can say both of them was the greatest, or you can say neither.
Okay.
Got you?
Okay.
All right. So we already said one, but I want to see where it is. Make it official.
Okay.
All right. Lynn Swan or Sterling Sharp?
Sterling Sharp.
Okay. All right. Okay. John Randall or Warren Sapp?
John Randall.
Wow. Okay. Tony Dorsett or Emmitt Smith?
Both.
Okay. All right. Reggie White, Lawrence Teller?
Both.
Okay. All right. We get another one. Okay. Lester Hayes or Deion Sanders?
Lester Hayes.
Whoa. Okay. Let me give you a little switch up on you. Jordan or LeBron?
Jordan.
Okay. All right. Okay. Marshall or West Virginia?
Marshall.
Okay. Good layup. Easy one. Let's give you a hard one. Let me get another hard one in there. Okay. The 1998 Minnesota Vikings or the 1987 Minnesota Vikings?
So I know what you did here.
Yeah, I did. Oh, it
did. See, I'm about to turn it off now.
Yeah, some people don't know what I did, but you know because you play football.
I know what you did. I know what you did. I know what you did. Okay, and I'm gonna pick one or the other.
Yeah, pick one or the other.
Okay, I'm because I know that's not what I know. That's what you want. You don't want me to say both. Out of respect, I'm gonna say the 98.
Okay.
Okay. I'm out of respect. I'm gonna do the 98.
Okay, all right.
That's my boy. That's my boy.
Yeah. He took over the league.
He was running things. He was running things.
Okay, all right. And we're gonna do a last one. See, because the old school players, they actually, listen to music before y'all played, and y'all had real music during that time. So I'm gonna ask you this one because another player, he kind of messed up on it. So I'm gonna give it to you right now.
Okay.
Are you taking Ohio players or Parliament P-Funk?
Oh, Parliament P-Funk.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir. This is no good. Charles Oakley messed around and said Ohio. I was like, what in the world? I said, I know.
I like the Ohio players, but you can't. Yeah. But Parliament P-Funk, that was a movement. That was a movement.
It was a movement. But I said,
there's music and then there's movement.
Yeah. So that's why I was like, yeah, I know that was the era. Y'all was playing that flashlight in that locker room. Yeah, after the game winning and everything. All right, so let me say this to you, Mr. Carl Lee. It was a pleasure talking to you. As you said, like it was just a conversation, talk about football, talk about a little bit things that was going on, now. I would love to have you back and everything. But, anything that people could find you where, your handle or Facebook, Instagram, anything that you have going
just
on.
LinkedIn. I'm just on LinkedIn.
What's
that's
the name?
About all I'm on. It's under my name, Carl Lee III.
Carl Lee III, LinkedIn, that's it. He don't do none of that new stuff, Facebooky and no Instagram, no pictures. All right, just check.
I got to get that done for football, but I ain't doing it for me.
Yeah. Oh man, because there's a lot of these schools that could actually use the tutelage, as well as summertime is time for camps. So kids is out of school and they might say, hey man, we're gonna have Pro Bowl, Carl Lee in here showing you D-backs how you backpedal correctly, what you should key on, have proper technique.
And you can get that. You can hit me up on LinkedIn and you can get that.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, with all these athletes I'm coming in contact, I might, organize myself a little something, bring all y'all
there
in.
You go.
Get your little playbook, break you off a little something.
There you go.
Absolutely.
There you go. I'm all for it.
Awesome. All right, but thank you, Mr. Lee, Mr. Carl Lee. It was a pleasure. This is KROSS BARZ. Make sure you tune in. All right. KROSS BARZ. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, anything, YouTube. Man, look for Big O. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. But, look out for that new recipe coming from Carl Lee. He was the one that introduced the pork and bean sandwich to West Virginia State. They took it off the menu. So it's all good. I'm glad, he had that country boy stuff going on. He said, yeah. So it's all good, Carl. I appreciate your time, effort, and your energy.
Peace. I enjoyed it, man.